If you've decided to self-publish your book and you're in the process of getting it ready for readers, then you're likely understanding just how much work this process can be. It is a massive task that requires so much research, so much dedication, and is often fraught with confusion. Which services do you need to hire people for? Which services can you do yourself? How can you tell if someone is a legitimate publishing partner or if you're getting scammed? Unfortunately, we're seeing more and more scammers target authors who are trying to self-publish, and it can be really challenging for you on the other side of the table trying to figure out if this is a legitimate service that's actually going to help you get success with your book, or if it's really just someone out for your money. So if you've been following my channel, you likely know that I used to work in the traditional publishing side of things, so I have a lot of insights when it comes to authors who want to get traditionally published by a major publishing house. And I don't have as much experience with self-publishing, but that's why I'm so excited to bring you a self-publishing expert today, and we're going to walk through some of the most common scams and pitfalls that self-publishing authors fall into when they are trying to get their book published. She's going to be able to fill in all the gaps and all the questions that I haven't been able to answer directly on my channel. So I'm really excited for this collaboration today. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're anywhere along the book writing or publishing journey, I offer tips for how to get through every phase of the process, from writing your manuscript, revising it, all the way to figuring out your publishing options, and I post new videos every week. While you're at it, please hit that like button because it helps with the YouTube algorithm and allows me to continue growing this amazing community. And go into the description below to grab my free resource. It is a story self-assessment worksheet that's going to help you turn to your work in progress and make sure that it is as strong as it can be, with specific insights on weaker areas that you could improve on the next draft. It's also going to sign you up for my newsletter, where I provide exclusive tips and insights not available anywhere on my channel. So without further ado, let's introduce our amazing guest today, M.K. Williams. She is a self-published author who has found a ton of success in her publishing journey and on her own YouTube channel. She's a member of the beloved AuthorTube community. So thank you so much for joining us today, M.K.
Hi, Alyssa. Thank you so much for having me on the channel. Hi, everyone. I'm M.K. Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher, which is a fancy way of saying that I write and self-publish my books. Through my YouTube channel, series of guidebooks, and coaching, I help first-time authors navigate the world of self-publishing. I'm so passionate about seeing authors get to the finish line with their book in hand, and I do everything I can to help them avoid the pitfalls and landmines of self-publishing. I'm so glad to be here today to help you sidestep some of these issues.
Thank you so much, MK. I am so excited to have you here and to feature your insights. I know so many people who watch this channel may have been targeted for scams. Some people might be trying to figure out if there is a service or a publisher who's legit or not, and your insights are going to be so helpful to all of us in navigating that. So with that, my first question for you is about these so-called hybrid publishers, or what's also known as vanity presses. We're seeing more and more of them pop up in the publishing landscape, so how can authors who are planning to self-publish seek out a reputable publisher from a scam? And what should they look for?
The tricky thing with vanity presses is that they don't come out and say, we're a vanity press. They call themselves independent publishers, which isn't inaccurate because they are not affiliated with the Big Five, but they're pretty much glorified print shops. The vanity part in vanity press is that it's all for show. Sure, their logo is on the spine of your book, they're listed on the copyright page, but that's about it in terms of being a publisher. You have a massive fee, usually in the thousands, in paying for editing and design services and then printing. That's really what you're getting, but then this person is saying they're the publisher. Now, if you're thinking of going the self-publishing route and then a publisher reaches out to you out of the blue that you've never heard of, red flag. Sorry, unless you have a major online platform already, how did they hear about you? Vanity presses charge a fee to authors to publish their books. Real publishers do not charge for publication. In fact, they pay you. Vanity presses also usually get the rights to your book, so you're paying money and signing over rights. If anyone is representing themselves as a publisher and asking for money, Big red flag. Run the other direction. You can usually do a quick search in several indie publishing or self-publishing groups and forums to see if any other authors have worked with this press and if they had a good experience. Most people who work with vanity presses will at the end say, this wasn't a good experience. They're very excited. Oh, my publisher this, my publisher that. And then usually about like 3 months to a year later, they're like, no, this was a horrible experience. So you'll be able to find out pretty quickly if that is a reputable company or not from people sharing their experience with you.
Thank you so much for that, MK. I'm totally in agreement. A traditional publisher, for instance, will never ask you for money. They will pay you money because they are buying the rights to publish your book. So if a publisher is approaching you and saying, you need to pay me thousands of dollars, that is a red flag, and typically those services are not what you want them to be. There was a report done on hybrid publishers and scam publishers that I went over in another video that basically corroborates everything you're saying, in that most people who go this route ultimately are not satisfied with the services. So it's better to avoid it entirely. I also want to add that there is a blog called Writer Beware that posts about scam publishers, vanity presses, and can alert writers to any publishers that are really illegitimate. So also if someone is reaching out to you and you want to check the legitimacy, you can also run a search on that blog. So now let's get into my second question. So do you need a publishing partner to publish in the first place when you're going the self-publishing route? Are there any benefits to working with one of these hybrid publishers, or is it better to just do it all on your own?
So this is probably an infuriating answer, but it depends on a lot of different factors. So on one end of the spectrum, let's say you're enjoying learning things by getting your hands messy. You want to try to figure out the different systems and the processes. You may not need a partner to help you, but you can learn a lot from the information that's out there to make the process less stressful. On the other end of the spectrum, let's say you're looking to publish a leadership and management book to complement your thriving consulting business. You may feel like you don't have the time to take away from your business to learn about self-publishing, at which point working with a hybrid publisher or a book coach might be a big benefit to you. They know self-publishing and can get the book across the finish line, and you get to focus on your business. In that case, the fees you pay are for this person's time in managing the project, paying for editing and design, etc. You retain all the rights to your book and future royalties. And there's so many different options in between. Ideally, you want to know yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses, and what's your time availability? If you feel like you absolutely have to have this book out by a certain date to support your business, working with a partner is going to be super helpful for you, and you need to look at that as a business investment. If you don't have a lot of money to invest in self-publishing your book, then you're going to need to invest your time to learn some of these processes. So what I want to leave you with this question is that self-publishing is not solo publishing. There are very reputable people out there who can help you. Maybe it's formatting your book. Maybe it's learning how to use the software that you bought to format your book, in which case you can find free videos and tutorials online. Maybe it's for your book cover. Maybe it's somebody who just knows how to upload things to the different platforms, and they're going to tell you, yes, click this button here, push this here, boom, you're done. There's always people out there who can help you depending on what you have to invest.
I love your point about self-publishing not having to be solo publishing. If you need help, you absolutely should get it. If it makes more sense from a business perspective for you to outsource some of the work of self-publishing, then maybe that absolutely makes sense. I think where the difference lies in what we're talking about here comes down to communication and expectations. Maybe it doesn't make sense for a debut author of a fantasy romance to invest thousands of dollars with working with a hybrid publisher who really isn't going to guarantee any sort of success once the book is launched. However, if someone has a built-in platform and a very clear launch plan for their book, and it makes sense for them to spend some money in order to get it over the finish line, as you say, then that could be something that makes sense, and everyone's case is different. That leads into my next question. So talking about potentially getting outside help and paying for services when it comes to self-publishing, what are some red flags to watch out for when you are reaching out to professionals and or companies that provide publishing services?
When you're looking to work with a professional, there are definitely a few red flags to look for. And the first one is, how long have they been doing this? Did they just spin up their website and payment form last week? No, I don't want to say that and make it seem like somebody new to offering their services isn't going to do a good job. They may do a very good job, and they may do it at a lower rate because they're just starting out. But having a track record of helping authors is something to look for. Not only will they follow through on whatever service it is, and you'll be able to see that from that track record, but you also will be confident that they know self-publishing, the platform's system requirements. Just because somebody is a great graphic designer does not necessarily mean they're going to be a great book cover designer for all the nuance and the technique and the technical elements they're going to need to be aware of. The second red flag to look out for when looking at different publishing related services is communication. Do they make you pay for their services before you even have a chance to connect via email or a phone call? Huge red flag. This is your money. You should definitely be able to discuss with them what the project is, understand if you're a good fit, and if they're going to be communicating with you. If they aren't getting back to your emails when you ask questions about their services, or they just aren't timely, find someone else. Maybe they're just already overloaded with client work, or maybe they just aren't good at communication. Either way, communication is the #1 key to success in working with a contractor or a professional for helping to self-publish your book. One thing to absolutely look for that is, I would say, a green flag is for the Alliance of Independent Authors, or IBPA, Independent Book Publishers Association seal on their website. So these organizations vet new services in the indie author space and only give this seal to those who they can earnestly recommend to authors. So just because a company doesn't have this seal doesn't necessarily mean that they are not quality. They just may not have applied for that yet, but seeing that seal will definitely should help you feel more confident that they are a team that you can work with, and that if something goes wrong, you actually have this independent party that's a watchdog that you can report it to.
Such amazing tips there. I loved what you said about making sure that the professional or the company has a track record of experience working with authors and helping them to success, and your point about communication. I am a developmental book editor. It's my full-time job, and I work with authors who self-publish. And it is so important to me that we set clear expectations, that they know what they're getting from their services with me, that they understand my background, that they've seen books I've worked on before we enter into that collaboration. So I'm really glad and appreciate that you brought all of that up. And that point about the seal to watch out for is a really helpful tip. My next question has to do with what happens after the book is published. At that point, what scams should authors be looking out for? For example, I know that some authors get these random emails out of the blue from people claiming to be film agents, or people claiming that they're gonna help their book skyrocket to a bestseller list. So what are your opinions on those?
So about once a week, even earlier today, I get an email that just has the title of one of my books in the subject line. Inside is an offer to promote my book to this massive audience of fans for a certain number of dollars for this package. There's no website link in the email to tell me who the company is. They don't tell me anything else about the size of their audience, just that it's a massive audience. Don't give these people your money. In general, anyone reaching out to you first to promote your book, buyer beware. It's best for you to do your own research on which book promotion services appeal to readers in your genre, that their email practices are compliant, and that you know what you're getting in exchange for this fee. Definitely be incredulous when anybody is just cold emailing you with an amazing promotion for your book. Another one is film agents asking for rights for your book. Now, if this happens, usually you're thinking, oh my gosh, my dreams are coming true. So the second someone wants to talk about rights for your book, find a lawyer. If you don't know any, post in one of the many self-publishing groups or forums. Someone in there either is a lawyer in their day job, or they will know someone who is a lawyer who can help you. It may very well be a legitimate offer, which is very exciting, but don't agree to give over any rights until you've spoken to a lawyer. If it's a scam, a lawyer is definitely going to scare them away. If it's legit, then they should have an offer amount for rights, a plan on when they would produce said film, and they may even be producing a contract for you to sign that you're obviously going to want that lawyer to vet. So there's going to be certain hallmarks of somebody who's legit versus somebody who's not, and a lawyer is going to scare away the scam artists.
More great insights here. I think your tips really come down to not reacting so suddenly to these random cold emails and being skeptical first. Making sure you take the time to see who is actually contacting me, is this a legitimate person, and then seeking help, like you said, getting a lawyer's opinion if it has to do anything with rights. So I think it comes down to taking a breather, even though the email might be really exciting and you might want to, give that person $100 to promote your book to thousands of people. Take a step back, do your research, ask others before proceeding. My last question here is a more general one. What is the biggest pitfall that you see self-publishing authors fall into, and what should they do instead?
So hearing all of this, you may be a little nervous to self-publish, but this is just life. This is life in 2022, 2023, where scammers are out there, and we all just have to be very conscientious of it, right? Like, you're smart. Like, if something smells funny, if it looks a little off, it's probably off. But the biggest pitfall for self-publishing authors isn't any of these external items. It's definitely internal, and it's not having a clear goal. I see this happen all the time. And you might be thinking, MK, my goal is to self-publish my book. Okay, but how? Why? What's your vision for the book? Where will readers find it? You need to get really specific on your vision and your goal for the book, because there's so many different avenues that you can take to get you the same result. There's like half a dozen places where you can upload your book and it ends up on Amazon.com. Which one's right for you? If you don't have a clear goal or vision for your book, it's really tempting to look at what someone else is doing or what a guru told you on a podcast and just copy that. But maybe the advice isn't best for your genre or what your vision for the book is. Or maybe you just have a few days of low book sales and then one of those scamming emails comes your way. Having a clear vision and goal will help you to stay on track, publish your book, and avoid most of these potential pitfalls.
Absolutely. Goal setting your objectives for your book is so important, and I think also will help mitigate any potential discouragement that comes after you publish your book. I often see self-published authors feel down because they publish their book and then don't make the sales that they want. But having those goals set and a plan in place before all of that can then help you address that disappointment and set your expectations properly. Have you actually taken the steps needed to get your book in front of readers and make those sales? If not, what are those steps? Go back to that plan and revisit it and make sure that you're actually executing on it. Thank you so much for all of your tips, MK. This has been invaluable for readers. So many insights that I can't bring from my own experience not having self-published, so I'm so glad we were able to get your expert insights.
Thanks so much for having me on the channel, Alyssa. This was really fun. If anyone has more questions about where to get started on their self-publishing journey, you can check out my channel on YouTube or my series of Author Your Ambition books, starting with Self-Publishing for the First-Time Author, which you can find anywhere you find great books, even your local library.
I hope you found some value in today's session going through the pitfalls and scams of self-publishing. I hope that you feel more empowered to embark on your own publishing journey, whatever that may be. Let me know in the comments if you have noticed any of these scams or run into these pitfalls, or if there are any that we didn't go over today that you would like to make the community aware of. I really want this to be a space where we are sharing experiences and helping others, so definitely feel free to share down in the comments below. Because we talked a lot about hybrid publishing today, I recommend checking out my other video where I go into what a hybrid publisher is and why this is often a scam, so definitely check that out if you're looking for more insights. And as always, if you found this video helpful or useful, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, go over to MK's channel if you haven't already, and make sure you subscribe to her as well. And don't forget my free story self-assessment resource in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and happy writing.